Hey, everybody. Welcome to True Crime Paranormal. I'm Kristi Brower with my co-host and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
How are you?
Well, I'm tired.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
great. I'm great. Yeah.
We had a wild weekend of camping and we're tired, but we are glad to be here with all of you.
We actually did have a fabulous weekend. We always camp one last time for the year in October to really catch the fall weather. And boy, did
Yeah.
we.
Oh, I know. It was so nice. It was beautiful. And, beautiful that all the trees are changing. We were camped in a bunch of cottonwoods and cedars, and it was so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon
I
my
hear that
cat
your
playing the
cats are
piano.
playing the piano. Yeah.
Yes. It was a rather ominous tone, which I think fits the story we're going to tell tonight.
Oh, well, good. Yeah. We did, yes, we camped in a beautiful place. And I did, we'll share some pictures here. So we talk about it a little bit so you guys can see. I
Yeah.
had the opportunity this afternoon. My husband borrowed his dad's side by side. So if you don't know what that is, it's like a four-wheeler that two people ride in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big fan of these things because I'm a big chicken. And typically the person you ride with goes too fast and goes to places I don't want to go. And, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Steep
and
hills, stuff like that.
yes. And so I said, don't take me on a scary ride. I don't want to do that. And well, he did, but he was polite enough to a few times say, "This is a spot where you're going to want to close your eyes." That was his version of not taking me on a scary ride.
Oh, well, how
One time,
convenient. Just close your
I
eyes. We're going to
right.
do something death-defying, and then
Hmm.
it'll all be fine, and you can open your eyes again.
Hmm. It was climbing a mountain. Yeah, which he
Mm-hmm.
promised the view would make it all worth it. So it probably did. I'm showing a little clip of that for you guys right now. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to see the valley where we were camped along the Snake River because it is so smoky here.
Oh, my
We're still getting
goodness.
a lot of smoke from all the surrounding fires.
Yes, we're still really getting it.
Some of them from the salmon area, which is, of course, where we're going this weekend on our next
Yes.
weekend on our cemetery tour.
Yes, it is. I know. Hopefully it won't be too smoky there
Yeah,
when
it
we
should
get
be
there.
okay. But the Frank Church Wilderness there
Yeah.
really seems to have a fire every year.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, it's a
Yeah,
huge, vast wilderness. But
it is. It is.
anyway, so that's a little footage of where we spent our weekend. It was pretty great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Nice to be
Yeah.
outside, but nice to be home. That's one thing I love about camping is that coming home is just as fun as being out.
Hmm. Excellent. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
My dachshund wanted to say hello. You all can hear her. She's very
are your dogs
verbal.
worn out? My dogs have been asleep since we got home.
Oh, yeah, mine too. Yeah, big babies. And they didn't even have to unload the van. I mean, come on. Spoiled. Well,
Yeah.
maybe we ought to get to today's
Yes.
case.
Let's do it.
So this is a case that was suggested by a listener. So thank you very much for that. We do appreciate that. This was a message on our Facebook fan page. We get those as well as comments on YouTube. And we love all of them because it's really fun to go and find cases we didn't know about or to cover
Yeah.
cases that you all are most interested in. So this is the case of William Tyrrell. William Tyrrell went missing in September of 2014, September 12th. He was 3 years old at the time that he vanished. So what I
Okay.
want to do, because this is a cold read case, Katie didn't know what we were going to cover, and she hasn't researched this
And I
case.
apologize because I didn't get my notes ready.
Oh,
So I'm
you what? You didn't get
oh,
your notes ready. You don't have any notes.
well, my note-taking ability. So William
Oh, your note taking. I'm like, you don't have notes. You didn't even know what I was doing.
Tyrrell,
Your
and
note.
he disappeared. Tell me one more time.
He disappeared. Okay, so I'm going to give you the timeline. I felt like that might be the easiest for you to read this because there's
Okay.
a lot of stuff out there. So
Okay.
he disappeared on September 12th, 2014 from New South Wales.
Okay.
He was 3. He was dressed in a Spider-Man outfit, and he was playing in the garden while visiting his foster grandparents.
Right.
So his foster mother, who was there at the time, discovers he's missing within 10 minutes or so. She goes in the house to do something, comes back out. He's nowhere to be found. calls the
Okay.
police. Like they come, she calls the police at like 10:56 in the morning and they're at 11:06. I mean, it's very fast. And they search for him. So the house where he went missing from is like right across the street from a big wilderness, basically. So they're searching and searching and searching the surrounding bushland and neighboring houses. The police go, they do this huge door-to-door search, every house in the area,
Mm-hmm.
wilderness within a many-mile radius, looking for this little boy, and they find zero, absolutely nothing. This kid just vanished out of thin air.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
on September 21st, they give up. They stop searching. They have nothing more to go on. They've looked everywhere they know to look. They don't have any evidence. They don't have anything. So nothing really happens other than he's just gone. Until January 20th of 2015, the police searched the home of the guy that lives across the street. No, I'm sorry. I have this wrong. They searched the home of this guy named Bill Spedding, who carried out repairs on the house across the street. So he was a washing machine repairman. And
Okay.
so they searched his house because he'd been there at the time that the little boy was living there or was visiting there. He'd seen him before, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they take some things and include, and test like a mattress, a computer, vehicles. They even drained his septic tank.
Wow.
Found nothing. He denies any involvement, and this goes nowhere because basically there's just no evidence against this guy at all.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of changing of the guard in this case as far as who is investigating it, and there is also some allegations of misconduct that happens in this case with the police.
Mm-hmm.
So in February of 2015, some homicide detectives take over the case, and they say they believe that William was abducted. In March of that year, they search another area of the bushland near Bonnie Hills for 3 days after a tip-off. They have this huge amount of tip-offs, okay? They have like 2,800 tip-offs in this case. None of it pans out. Now, on April 17th, William's foster parents speak publicly for the first time in a video, but the police don't identify them. So there's this really weird situation where this little boy is in foster care.
Right.
Well, because of privacy laws, they can't say he's in foster care. But because he is, they can't release the name of his foster parents, nor can they release the names of his biological parents. So it's this real weird bureaucratic thing that some people really feel like kind of hampered this case.
Mm-hmm.
If they were protecting confidentiality, that people were like, we don't care. Please don't protect our confidentiality. We just want to find this kid. And this got all wrapped up in weird. Like they actually had to go to court over that. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Also in April of 2015, the police have decided that the boy might have been the victim of a local pedophile ring. And it turns out there are a bunch of pedophiles in the area. They look at all of them. They don't find anything. So at this point, it just feels like they're just grasping, basically. In September of 2015, the 9 networks, so this is in Australia, so whatever that is, 60 Minutes, it's their 60 Minutes. They revealed that there were 2 suspicious cars parked on the street the morning that William went missing. So there were 2 cars parked out there that people didn't recognize. And they really wondered, like, could this have been who abducted him?
Mm-hmm.
But again, they have nothing. They don't have really any details other than the colors and makes of the cars. Like, they just don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
So on September 12th of 2015, this is 1 year he's been missing, they start Where's William Week, which is launched after he disappeared. And there's a lot of work done on the behalf of this little boy. There's a website called where'swilliam.com, I think. They the government actually offers $1 million reward for information leading to his return. So the government tries to get involved. Despite this, they go a whole nother year with no information, no movement on the case at all. So in August of 2017, they finally reveal that William was a foster child.
Right.
After the court ruled that, his case, his abduction case, supersedes all the privacy laws, and that it's okay to release that he's a foster kid, who
Mhm.
his parents are, who his foster parents are, biological parents, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're 2 years out now
Right.
before any of that information is released, which is crazy. So that's the only thing that really happens in 2017. In 2018, in June, New South Wales police announced the start of a 4-week forensic search of the bushland, and it's conducted by what they call, and I don't know why they call it this, Strike Force Roseanne. So they basically
Okay.
form like a special task force to look for William, and it's detectives and forensic experts, and it's all these people, and they named it Strike Force Roseanne. I don't know why it wasn't Strike Force William.
Right.
I'm very confused by that. But anyway, that's what they name it. And so they form this special force of people. But the weird thing about it is, I mean, this is literally 4 years after this little boy's gone missing. Then they
Right.
finally form this special task force.
Right. Like, why didn't that happen a whole lot sooner?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they did do things, but why not that
They
thing?
did, but yeah, they waited a really long time, and there was a lot of criticism from the family at the time that this was just for show. The
Mhm.
strike force and all that stuff was like, come on, it's been 4 years and
Yeah.
it took you this long.
Mhm.
So they continue a forensic search of the bush, thinking that maybe his body's out there somewhere.
Mhm.
So then in June, they decided that they are going to expand their search radius to 800 square miles.
Holy cow.
I don't know. So they're continuing to look. And then in June, also, that search ends, and the detective chief inspector at the time, which is Gary Jubelin, he says the case could go soon to a coroner, so they could at least rule that, is this a death? Is this a, abduction? I mean,
Right.
this is Australian court, so it's different than what we're
Mhm.
familiar with. In September of that year, the police say they did find a burned out car wreck that belonged to a former person of interest in the case, and they wondered if that had something to do with it. In December, the coroner says that William could still be alive, and the inquest will determine if he died or not. I frankly have no idea how the inquest is going to determine that, because they don't have a body.
Right.
So 2019 in February, DCI Jubelin, he's the guy who was the chief inspector. He gets removed from the investigation, and he is accused of misconduct. So there's just so much chaos around this case. It's just
Mhm.
like nobody could stay focused on it. So in March of 2019, the inquest into his disappearance begins, and his biological and foster parents appear over the course of a week, and they get questioned, of course, at the inquest. They focus on William's family situation and everything that leads up to his disappearance. They questioned his biological parents, his foster parents, neighbors who helped with the search. And it comes out that in 2012, William's biological parents stole him, and he was missing for 6 weeks. This is when he went into care. Now, I got to say this because it gets confusing, because in the U.S., there's foster care, and then there's adoption and guardianship, right? But a
Right.
lot of times in other countries, and I know that this is the case in Australia, that foster parents can take a child on for the rest of their life, basically till, they're an adult.
Mhm.
But I think it's actually just guardianship. It's not actual adoption.
Mhm.
And I think that's what happened in this case. So they call them the foster parents, but really here we would probably have referred to them as the adoptive parents,
Sure.
because it's a little difference in the way the legal system works there.
Mhm.
So really, these parents had him for a long time, and were planning to have him, into adulthood.
Mhm.
That had been the intent. Let's see. So we know that the biological parents had stolen him in 2012 for 6 weeks.
Right.
There's nothing out there that says if they exonerated them or not, which is just weird.
Mhm.
Of course, the biological father slams the authorities for letting them down, and this is all their fault, and blah, 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 blah. Then the DCI, who's accused of misconduct, quits the police force. Well, that's helpful. He was the lead detective on this case.
Yeah.
He was charged with four charges of breaching the Surveillance Devices Act.
Oh.
And that he was unlawfully surveilling someone in relation to this case. So then in August, they go back for more inquest. So they do talk to Bill Spedding. He was the washing machine repairman.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that was a person of interest. He has a very clear alibi. He went to coffee with his wife that morning, and then he went to a school assembly to see their child. And so like tons of people saw him. He didn't do it.
Yeah.
There are all these claims that people have seen William Tyrrell, that they have seen him since he went missing. And at the inquest, there's one where there's a man who says that he saw William Tyrrell like in the back of a car. He called it a speeding car on the day that he went missing. He had reported this to the police, but he'd been waiting for the police and they never did interview him.
So let me stop you there for a minute. I guess, I don't know, or should I just let you finish?
It's okay. What do you want to say?
Well, I just want to say that, so my hit here is that he was kidnapped. I don't believe he was ever in the bush. I don't think they could search that forever. They're never going to find him. He wasn't there. I do believe that he was kidnapped. And I suspect that they probably did see him in a speeding car because that's exactly where he was. But carry on, and then I'll tell you more about why.
Okay.
What I'm seeing there.
Sure. So it took 1,000 days for the police to interview him about what he had reported that he saw. So that's, 3 years. Super helpful 3 years later. So the coroner, of course, jumps on that. And then they find that so there's this picture of him that was supposedly taken on the day that he went missing. Then that they find that the timestamp on the image is wrong. That the image was created at 7:39 a.m. and then there was a corrected time of 9:37 a.m. So now they can't really, this picture doesn't really mean anything. So then they just delay the inquest for another 8 months. There's supposed to be more hearings in March of 2020, although I don't think that they've actually happened yet. Oh, no, it did. It did. Hang on. I'll get there. It's just like there's so much stop and start in this case. I don't know how they're ever going to solve it, frankly. So they do release some footage of William with his family the day before at McDonald's. So they do have proof of life like before that. Because, of course, they have to look at, okay, did the family report him missing when he, we've been through these situations before, like with the, Dior Koontz and the Daybell case. Like when can we prove that this child was still in physical existence? And the day before they have footage of them at McDonald's. So they do know that on September 11th, 2014, he was in fact living. So then, this is so bizarre. In like February and March, Gary Jubelin, the detective that quit and was in trouble, he defends himself against charges of illegally recording a person of interest in the case. His name was Paul Savage, though there was never any charges against Paul Savage.
He had a real need to hang his hat on this case.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of unfair to him as well. I mean, obviously he was breaking the law and doing things he shouldn't have been doing, but I feel like he was receiving so much pressure as well to get something on the, that he kind of, I don't know, he feels like a bit of a scapegoat,
Oh,
but
I think so.
I mean, basically told do whatever it takes to get something solved on this case because honestly, I think it casts the police in a really ineffective light and didn't make
Yes.
him look good. And so there was a real, push to him to get something figured out. And so he was willing to go to just about any lengths. I think he was kind of told he could go to any lengths to get this case figured out. And then when he did, when he got busted, it actually cost him his job. But
Right.
yeah, I think he kind of took the fall unfairly, I think.
Because this was, I mean, it's botched from day one. I mean, you can see that it's botched
Oh,
from day
yeah.
from the way that it's been handled.
Yeah.
But somebody's going to take the fall for that.
Yeah.
So good old coronavirus got in the way. In March of 2020, the inquest started again, but stopped within 2 days, only went for 2 days, and then Corona happened and they had to shut it down. They
Mhm.
have not resumed it yet.
Okay.
But in February of this year,
Mhm.
Frank Abbott, a man named Frank Abbott, was arrested and in custody for the purpose of a police interview about his disappearance. In April of this year, Gary Jublin was convicted of the charges of the unlawful surveillance and fined
Mhm.
$10,000. And now the last real news on this is that the police in June of this year launched a new search for him near Herons Creek, which is where Abbott lived at one point.
Hmm.
And so there's some belief that he was involved. There's a book written by a woman who's done a bunch of private investigation on this. She believes that he was um, snatched by some people, and there's all kinds of theories and stuff. But I mean, literally, the police don't have shit on
Yeah.
this still. I mean, they've got Frank Abbott. They're searching his property. That's the last that I've seen on this case. They still have not found this little boy.
Yeah.
And they really have nothing on,
Okay.
it's all just conjecture at this point. So
Yeah.
that's the story. It's bizarre. It's so
Mhm.
drawn out and strange and handled so weirdly.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm very curious to hear what your take is on this.
Okay. So, I don't think Frank Abbott did anything to this kid. I think he's a known sex offender or a suspected sex offender that, should probably have some eyes on him, but I don't feel like he
Mhm.
was responsible in this case.
Okay.
This little boy was kidnapped by a woman. I
Uh-huh.
don't think it had anything to do with his bio parents.
Okay.
Obviously, they've made that misstep before, but I don't feel like it was them this time. However, I'm
Mhm.
sure they're pissed off that this happened, and yes, the state failed them or whatever.
Mhm.
But I don't think it was them either. I see a woman in a brown car with short hair
Okay.
and short brownish hair. It's like everything about her is brown. Like I feel like her clothing were pretty drab, or quite drab. She looks to me to be in her mid 30s. Very nondescript woman. I
Okay.
don't feel like she is Australian.
Okay.
I believe she's English. I feel like she moved to Australia about 6 months before and had just recently, like within just a very short amount of time, moved into a brand new apartment. She buried a child. I think she buried a child in England.
Okay.
And she, I believe, actually moved to Australia to get a fresh start and to just move on. I feel like she has family or has roots in Australia, maybe, or maybe had like, some ancestry there or whatever.
Mhm.
Everything I see about her is books. I see all these books around her. It really makes me wonder if she's a librarian or perhaps a professor or
Mhm.
something like that. She's a professional of some sort, I think. But I see all of these like leather bound books around her.
Okay.
I smell books around her.
Mhm.
Um, since her son had died, and I feel like her son had died a couple of years ago, at least, maybe even.
Okay.
Well, no, I would say a couple of years ago,
From the
maybe.
time that William was kidnapped,
Yeah, like
2012-ish.
yeah, yeah. Not I don't know. That's a pretty tight timeline somewhere in there. But at any rate, so she had had a child, and her child was ill. Her child, I feel like, had some kind of a, um, like a really aggressive early onset cancer or something like that, because I feel like she actually like took care of this little one and he died. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what happened. So anyway, she did move to Australia to get to just get her life back on track.
Sure.
I feel like for a while she had had some kind of a delusion that her son was out there somewhere and she just had to find him.
Okay.
And which, like I said, I think it's like I see her in a very professional capacity, that she works and seems to be quite okay, but is not, and
Mm-hmm.
has these ideas going. I feel like she was looking for a child, looking for her son. I feel like she, for a while, had been looking for her son.
Mm-hmm.
And she happened to see our little hero out in the yard in his Superman costume. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's really key because I feel like there's some link to her son with Superman.
Okay.
Only thing about it
Spider-Man.
is, or Spider Man, I feel like her son was actually like would have been William's age, was William's age when he died.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so would have been a couple of years older. And that's what is kind of interesting to me about this. And I'll get to that. But anyway, I feel like she grabbed him. I feel like it happened really fast. I feel like she literally just sprinted to the garden, picked him up, sprinted to her car, and got the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened that fast. The reason why I don't think anyone realizes it is because she had just moved into a new apartment and she moved her son in. I feel like she keeps to herself. Her neighbors don't really know her. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the more this little boy has been around her, the more, she calls him by the name of her dead son. I feel like the birth certificate that she's using, like the
Mm-hmm.
identification she's using for him is from her son, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's not really been identified because his death was in another country,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's really no record of that. He just has these are his paperwork. But the thing about it is that it doesn't really match up to his age. And that's the one thing that I feel like at some point someone might find suspicious is that I do think that her son was maybe 18 months to 2 years older.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is one thing that I feel like is a little hard to fake, but maybe as he gets older, that gets easier, you know? But, so I do feel like, that's what happened and that she just moved right into this apartment that she just moved in, so she has this little boy, and I just feel like she keeps to herself and nobody ever really identified that that wasn't her son.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, even her, because she was not well and
Mm-hmm.
had this idea that she was looking for her son. And so I feel like she had his things. And so this little boy just fit right into her life as her son. And I think he's alive. I feel like he's alive and well. He's
Wow.
just, he's being raised. I feel like she lives in a very, very large city and has managed to just really blend in
Mm-hmm.
with him. I don't have a great prediction about whether they'll ever actually find him. The word that comes up for me with her is Hazel. Is that her first name or her last name? I'm not sure, but Hazel is the word that comes up to me every time I feel into her. But
Okay.
again, I feel like she's a librarian or a professor, somebody who deals with books and learning. That's her profession. And I feel like she's just living life as a single mom with this cute little boy. And that's how it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting because many people, including the family, believe he's alive.
Hmm.
Like a lot of people believe that this kid is alive.
Hmm. Yep.
And
I
that's sort
believe
of been
so.
the impression that a lot of people have is that he was not killed.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, he's well and he's happy. I mean, he obviously has been through, but you got to know, I mean, this little guy's been through some transition in his life.
Yeah.
He went from bio parents to foster parents to bio parents to foster parents and then new mom,
Yeah.
and so I feel like he adapted quite well. Not that he hasn't, of course, missed his family and I'm sure cried for his mommy plenty, but he has adapted quite well and doesn't
Mhm.
have, I mean, he was too young to really have memories, of being taken. This is
Mhm.
just his life and this is his mommy and he's happy and well adjusted. She takes excellent care of him. She adores him.
Wow.
So, will they find him? I have no idea. Honestly, I don't have a great hit that they will. I suspect that they won't.
Yeah.
But
That's wild.
however, stranger things have happened. Maybe when he's 18 or 20 or something, he does a ancestry test and discovers, that the familial DNA will help with this one. Could
Mhm.
happen, but
Could.
not until then, I suspect, because
Wow.
especially because she has documentation, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's
There's
not
really no
somebody that's
question.
trying to hide a kid that doesn't have a birth certificate. He does. But because it's from another country, the fact that that child also has a death certificate, it's
Yeah.
just not been identified.
No, I mean, who would know to check?
Right. Right. So that is my take. So good news that he's healthy and well. Very sad that he's separated from his family.
Yeah. Very, very interesting case.
Hmm.
I
I
I had the same hit. I've thought all
mhm.
along in researching this that this kid is not dead.
No.
Doesn't feel like a death at all,
Mm-mm.
but it's just so
Joshua,
strange.
by the way, I really think his name is Joshua.
Joshua.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's so interesting because there's zero connection between her and this child as far as
Hmm.
the abduction is concerned. I mean,
Hmm.
they've found nothing. They have no
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of know why, don't you?
Yeah. They
She
wouldn't
just
have any evidence.
random stranger snatch that had never
Yep.
had any connection with him or his family. How are they going to find her?
She had been trolling neighborhoods for a while,
Mhm.
parks, you know, kind of chilling out in her car, just kind of driving around looking to find, in her mind, really, her son.
Mhm.
I think she couldn't, there was that part of her that couldn't accept that he was gone for good, you
Yeah.
know? And so she was on a quest to find him. I mean, I know parts of that don't make sense, but I don't think you can justify that behavior with what would make sense considering, you know?
No, it's definitely in a delusional state in which,
Yeah.
she's not behaving rationally and she can't tell what's real and what isn't real.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an interesting case. I hope our Australian followers find this interesting because I'm sure
Yeah.
this is one of those, famous cases, kind of like Dior Kuntz's to us
Yeah.
about an unsolved missing child who's been now missing for years.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, very significant questions around that.
Yeah.
And honestly, at least it's a more positive outcome that the
Yeah.
child is alive.
Yep. Well, I mean, unfortunately, had they spoken with that gentleman long beforehand, maybe they would have recovered him because I
Maybe,
feel like
maybe
he
we could
really did
do
see
something.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they basically said that he was just sitting in the back seat of a car writing, like
Mhm.
he wasn't, restrained or anything. He was just riding in a car.
Just riding in a car. Oh, yeah.
But, for a foster child that young who, yeah, had been with biological parents, foster parents, probably
Mhm.
had a social worker. It wasn't unusual for adults to come and get him for various things.
Right.
He
Mhm.
probably didn't recognize that as not being okay.
Mhm.
And he was
Agreed.
3, so he was pretty little, but even
Mhm.
a 3-year-old might scream and cry. But this kid who has
Yeah,
those
but
experiences probably wouldn't.
right. Well, and she likely promised him something.
Mhm.
We're going to go get ice cream or we're going to go get a toy or something. And, a 3-year-old,
Yeah,
it's probably not going to be that big of a struggle to get them to come to the car.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's very true. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. What a case.
It's quite a story. It is quite a
Yeah, it
story.
is.
I wish for the family that there was some, closure for them,
Yeah.
for the foster family and the biological family to know at least that he's okay.
Yeah.
Very strange one.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they haven't given up hope because I'm with them. This
Yeah,
kiddo's
very
alive.
interesting because that is the belief coming from the family and then just other people affiliated with the case. There's another angle to this. A woman that is a private investigator who wrote a book
Mhm.
who believes that he was taken by 3 people and that he is dead and that they will find him, that they will find his body soon and a bunch of stuff. But it's all conjecture on her part, just like it is on everybody else's, because
Right.
there's no evidence. There's nothing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Gosh,
Yeah.
that's too bad.
I know. So weird that for him that he doesn't even know this about himself,
Yeah,
Too
and
little
maybe
people.
never will, or won't for a good long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
No kidding. Well,
The good news is she's a great mom,
hmm
you know?
at least he's well and cared for.
Oh, yeah, he's deeply loved and cared for.
Wild. Well, Aussie friends, please, weigh in YouTube. Please also be aware that our goal is the psychic read, not all the details. So
Yeah.
that's why, like, I give a timeline and not all the information. I know I didn't go into all the suspects. I didn't go into all the stuff. Trust me, we know we didn't do all of it, because the point here is just to give Katie the basic rundown so that she can give the read.
Hmm.
So if we've missed some
And
things, it's okay. We're just trying to get
yeah,
the basic gist of the story so that Katie can read the
yeah.
story.
And if there's some extra things you want to fill in, please do.
Oh, yeah,
Please
definitely.
do. But, try not to be too mad at us because we missed a detail here and there. That's not necessarily our focus. In a lot of these cases, we could do many episodes on to
Yeah.
get all of those details into. And frankly, then it would get boring. We would cover a whole lot less cases, and it would take an enormous amount of time to do that research. And it's not really our goal,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, we want to give the basic story so that it can be read, and some idea of what the outcome is can be shared. So, we have a little different focus than a lot of true crime shows do, at least on these cases. Obviously, we cover some other cases in minute detail, like we do the Daybell and Vallow case. But
Yeah.
for these cases, yeah, this is just kind of how we choose to cover them so that we can
Yeah.
get to
On a
the
cold read
the
case.
read.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, to a cold read, definitely.
Yeah. Well, and also, these are the kinds of cases that we can move through quickly, but we can pique your interest, And so I
Mhm.
would imagine that at least of a lot of our American listeners have never heard of this case. And
Yeah,
so if this, grabbed you, please go research it,
yeah.
go dive down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, go get all the deets.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, before we sign off, should we share a little info about our new episode coming or our
Let's
new,
do.
what are we going to call it? Our
Well,
new segment?
it's a weekly live stream.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a weekly live stream on Thursdays. Now we do one on Wednesdays. It's a show update. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
my hair is just driving me insane and I can't stop looking at it in the video. I gotta stop. Yeah, so we're going to start coming to you live on Thursday evenings, probably around 8 p.m. Mountain, right?
Yep.
And we're going to do a psychic show.
Yeah. So it's kind of a fun angle with this show because we do true crime, and some of you guys are here for the true crime. We know that's okay. If you're here for the true crime and you don't want to come in for the psychic show, that's totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you guys are here for the psychic stuff, the paranormal stuff, more than you are for the true crime. This one's for you.
Yeah.
If you're a crossover and you love it all, welcome.
Please join us.
If you know nothing about any of it, but you just want to come and play, please do.
Yeah.
But we will do a show where we'll be, talking about more psychic topics.
Mm-hmm.
That show we did last week, the past lives in children.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys contacted us with a lot of questions and, comments and experiences. And we realized we're kind of missing the boat by not doing, a specific, psychic show every week. So
Yeah.
we will likely have a topic and then we'll do some readings from the chat rooms as well. And so you can look forward to that on Thursday nights. So yeah, that's just one more offering from us now. So we'll be here, our main event usually will go live on Monday mornings like normal and live stream on Wednesday night to update our cases. And if we don't have a lot of updates, potentially just bring a new case. Sometimes we can find a solved case that we can share and give you guys a good, I almost said give you guys a happy ending, and I didn't want to say that, but I did.
It kind of is. Like, it feels good to hear a case that is solved and, get to the bottom of things.
Yeah.
Because we talk about so many unsolved cases. I love sharing some that, you're like, oh man, finally this, like that serial killer we talked about last week that finally, he's been convicted for at least 2 of his, 3 suspected victims. It's a good thing.
Yeah. So, and then our Thursday show, our psychic show. But this weekend, of course, keep
Yeah.
an eye. It'll be mostly through live stream, and some of it will probably be released later because some places we think we probably won't have very good service. We're hoping.
We're
But
talking rural Idaho, guys, even more
mhm,
rural than where we normally live. So
right, right. Like we're going into the, yeah.
into the backwoods.
Into the backwoods for sure. But we are going to be doing, at this point, it looks like we'll be hitting 4, maybe 5 cemeteries, showing you some very cool old cemeteries, telling you some stories, finding the graves of some people that are buried there and telling you more about them and how they died. And it's going to be a ton of fun. And we're hoping
Mhm.
this will be the first of many cemetery tours.
Yeah.
And maybe down the road, some cemetery tours that we can do together. So
Hey,
we'll
that'd
see.
be cool.
Yeah. When it's not so COVID-y out.
Yeah, when it's not so COVID-y out, right? That's your I like that. That's your new term, and I think it's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, watch for that. Definitely watch for our regular live stream on Wednesday night and our new psychic live stream on Thursday night. And then
Hmm.
over the weekend, you'll be seeing some live streams and then some uploads later, kinds of things, just depending on how we are with service where we're at. But we will be sharing all of that. So we have a lot
Hmm.
coming up in the next week.
Yeah, we do. Well, and probably some of our adventures from the road too, because
Oh yeah, because some
we
weird stuff
travel
can
well.
happen. If you don't know about weird stuff happening to us, please go watch Dior Coons. our episodes on Dior Coons, because we took a road trip. We had some really weird experiences while we were out, and we shared
Hmm.
those along with telling the story of Dior Coons' disappearance.
Yeah,
So yeah.
pretty normal for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for joining us here on True Crime Paranormal. Of course, you can find us over on Facebook. We have a fan page, True Crime Paranormal,
Hmm.
and we have a discussion group, and we'd love it if you join that and come talk to us about our cases. And we do have a Patreon, and so we're True Crime Paranormal on Patreon. If you are interested in supporting what we do, that always helps us just keep doing what we do. And so we really
Hmm.
appreciate you being here, whether you're on YouTube or you're on a podcast platform, wherever you're listening. We just appreciate your support. And don't forget to like, comment, and share wherever you are. That helps us grow. And we just really appreciate all of you. We would not be here without you.
Absolutely. All
Yeah.
right. Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Take
Thanks, guys.
care.
Have a great night, day, afternoon, whatever.
Okay.
All right.
Here we
Done did it.
go. It's a hell of a case.
Oh, it is a hell of a case. But I figured you were going to say he's alive.